Broadcasting from the Meredith Hall Studios out of Carson City, Nevada. You're listening to Covering the Field with Big Richard Martin, Gator Gates, and Joe the Answer Ellison.
Welcome to Covering the Field. I'm Joe Ellison, and with me are the amazing Big Richard Martin and Gator Gates. All right, guys, let's start with what was another fantastic week of football. What happened during week 3 in the National Football League?
Well, we're down to 2 teams, Joe. There's only 2 teams left undefeated, and we would never guess that it would have been Miami and Philly. I think no one would have took that. I think everybody was on the Kansas City, Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, or maybe even the Buffalo Bills, but not Philly and Miami, and they both are playing great football.
Yeah, we did pick Miami to make the playoffs.
We
not
did.
necessarily win the division, and you might have futures on them to win it all.
I have futures on them to win it all. I think it's 2 his year. I figured he had some, and that was even before they got the great running back. I mean, the great receiver out of that trade from Kansas City, and so I liked him with Waddle. I thought Waddle was good, and I think the head coach is great. So Kansas City goes down to Indy. I think that was a big surprise. I mean,
that was huge. Yeah, that was a huge surprise. You would think Kansas City would have done better, but I blame their special teams. I think their special teams was terrible.
Well, and I think also that Patrick Mahomes is definitely feeling not having to cheat on the field. And, I think that their numbers are down a little bit. Their points are down a little bit. And it proved that Indy came out, and finally Matt Ryan got a win out there in Indy. So congratulations to them.
Especially, what has he got, like 7 fumbles and 12 sacks this year, and they still managed to find a way to win.
And they're also now they're 1-1-1, and so they're doing great in that AFC,
division. That's pretty solid.
That's pretty solid. Yeah, they're already getting their tickets to Glendale, Arizona for the Super Bowl. I think out there in Indy now. A little bit too premature, but hey, what about the Bills and the Miami game? Was definitely the game of the week. I mean, Tua played great. The defense stepped up, got some fumbles, and I think just poor time management by the Bills. At halftime, they missed the field goal. They didn't have good time management. And at the end, we had the big blow-up by Dorsey, showing that they didn't get that field goal at the end to take the lead. They lost by 2 points. So,
yeah. Buffalo had 90 plays. Josh Allen throws for 400 yards. You have the butt punt by Miami.
Yeah.
For a safety.
Yeah, that was on live TV enema we got to see right there. I mean, oh, man. I heard he had to stand up the whole day. He couldn't sit on the bench after he got kicked there.
Yeah. Well, Buffalo, last year they were 0-6 in games decided by 8 points or less, and 0-1 this year. They can blow teams out, but apparently they can't win the very, very close games.
Oh, Joe. Bills are still the elite team in the AFC. They had a tough game. If they had pulled that win out, it would have been a great road win, but it was just great AFC East matchup. Great football all the way around. Only 2 teams undefeated, like I said. Only 1 team that hasn't got a win. And how about them Raiders, huh? Raiders 0-3. Oh, they're definitely panicking in Vegas.
I will say Tua 9-1 in his last 10 games. They start off slow. I think people need to be paying attention. And let's give credit to Ken Dorsey, the Buffalo offensive coordinator, for the classic meltdown of the year already. I think he's won that prize.
Yeah, I saw my little 2-year-old act the same way when I told him he couldn't have any more Fruit Loops. He acted the same way when he just lost it. Totally embarrassing for him, I'm sure. But it just shows that he really cares and wants to win. So I think it's good.
Yeah, I had no problem with it. And
nothing like a grown man acting like a 2-year-old. I have no problem with that.
We were on Philly to win that division, Absolutely. Not necessarily go all the way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and it looked great over in Washington. They scored all their points in the second quarter, 24, but that was plenty.
That was plenty. That game was not even as close as the 24-8. No. I mean, they had total control of that game. Defensive line's the best in football, and I think that their quarterback Jalen Hurst, looks like a great second-round pick. They got for him, so Philly's on a roll.
Yeah. Washington didn't score until the fourth quarter. Right. Their defense kept them.
One was a safety. One was a safety.
Got sacked 9 times.
What about Jacksonville? I mean, that was definitely got me on my picks. I thought for sure that the L.A. Chargers were going to come out there and get the Jaguars. They're going to lay their normal West Coast egg. And, I mean, are the Jags for real, Joe? Or what do you think?
I think they're definitely like a 500 team. I don't know if they're a playoff team. No, I'm not going to pick them to go
Going
to
all the way into L.A. and just thumping the Chargers. I mean, most people have the Chargers, including our producer, to win it all. And
Justin Herbert is not looking too healthy at the moment.
yeah, he's got that rib problem, and you've seen he's only healthy if I have money on the game. If I would have had money on the game, he definitely would have thrown 3 touchdowns if I had money on the Jags.
Well, if you've ever had a rib problem, it's
Right.
the only thing you can do to fix it is rest and let it heal. And he's not doing that.
No,
So he's going to be.
The coach let it be up to him. That was good. The coach, it was the player's decision, and he wants to play. He's a fighter. He's tough.
I would have pulled him out in the fourth quarter. They had no chance of winning that game.
Right.
So it was get that backup in there just in case he gets hitting the rib again and he can't play for some reason. At least the backup has some experience.
Yeah, Daniels is not who's going to get you there. And the only thing that they're saving grace is not really anybody in the AFC West is playing that great. So they're still, they're 1-2, but they're still right there.
But Jacksonville is a story. Their 18-game road losing streak is finally over. And guess who lead over margin right now?
I'm just going to have to say, I'm going to have to swim with Jacksonville.
It is Jacksonville. They're +7. I set you up on that one.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I never would have picked it if you didn't lead me up to it, so thanks for it.
Yeah. And so Trevor Lawrence, 9 consecutive road losses to start his career, and then he won in week 3, just like a famous quarterback who won a couple Super Bowls, maybe with the Broncos and the Colts, Peyton Manning.
Ooh, you're saying he's Peyton Manning?
He's exactly like Peyton Manning.
Oh no,
He started
Peyton Manning's
his
hair never would be that long, and come on, he looks like Sunshine. Looks like Sunshine State quarterback, right there in Florida. He belongs right there.
Yeah, he does. Green Bay won at Tampa Bay. Tom Brady has only 1 pass touchdown each game. That's it's un-Brady-like.
Un-Brady-like.
And
well, he doesn't have any receivers, so I mean, they're
not
too
at the
busy
moment.
fighting on the field playing WWE wrestling instead of playing football, and now they're watching. So that definitely hurt him in that game. But I think the defense did stand up. I think the defense stood up, and it was Aaron Rodgers made some key mistakes, threw a couple picks, and almost cost him the game. I mean, they didn't score the second half. So
Is it possible Tom Brady's head isn't screwed on quite right with his problems at home with Giselle?
Yeah,
it's got to be a distraction. I mean,
it's a distraction. I think that he has his cup in her purse. So I think we can say that on the air. I think we're getting thumbs up from our producer. Yeah, I think we're okay with that.
Yeah, we need to. He needs to have a sound mind and body, and I don't think Brady is there right now.
I don't know. Just give him some time. He's Brady. Don't panic. Don't panic. Just like Joe Burrow said, don't panic. Just don't get crazy. We're 0-2. Now they got a Thursday night game. They can be 2-2, just like that.
Yep. Denver beat San Francisco at home. How about that? 11-10. A safety. Jimmy Garoppolo, supposedly the savior, running into the back of the end zone for safety.
Well, that was good that he did it because he threw a pick 6. So I mean, that was the best safety of a football play ever I saw. But
it ended up being the difference in the game. 11-10 was the final, the second game in history.
Russell doesn't look right. He just doesn't look right up there. What do you think about that?
He doesn't look good at all. But they're 2-1.
Yeah, a win's a win. But man, it looks like my 4th grade football team out there. They can't complete a pass or throwing balls in the dirt. I mean, you're paying a guy $250 million, man. I mean, and he had like 9 3-and-outs. I mean, that's just not gonna get it done with that kind of money. You can need some Lamar Jackson. Why don't you pay Lamar Jackson that kind of money? Baltimore, why aren't you paying this guy? I mean, Lamar Jackson is just electric every time he's on the field. MVP season by far right now. He's the front runner.
Well, I would say Denver looks a lot like Chicago, let's say. Chicago is 2-1.
Yes.
Just beat Houston at home.
The Bears.
Chicago, 45 pass attempts in 3 games. That's the lowest since 1982. They're either being too conservative or maybe they're doing the exact right thing because they're 2-1.
Yeah, their backup running back looked really good. He pulled up
Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, Khalil Herbert had a 50-yard touchdown. He's averaging like 7 yards a carry, and so I mean they can rest Montgomery until he gets healthy enough, and that's always good to have 2 backs in the NFL.
Guess you were telling me, Gator, Houston's led all 3 of their games in the fourth quarter and lost them all.
Yeah.
I guess they got a tie in one of them. So.
Right. Exactly. Indy and Denver, now Houston. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
They just can't
close the deal.
Can't close the deal. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good. I mean, I think that C.J. Stroud sitting out there, that's a great. You're telling me I'm telling you it's an upgrade. You know, having
Chicago.
Yeah. If Chicago could pick him up also, I mean, I think it's even if you lose this year in the NFL, there's some great quarterbacks coming out. So.
Okay, and well, of course, you did mention he didn't score the entire second half and still won that game, and that was the third time in history 2 0-2 teams met that had made the playoffs the previous year. So that was a surprise to see both those teams 0-2. Obviously, Las Vegas is better than 0-3.
They are better, and I think that they're going to have a good game this week against the Broncos. So we'll get into that when we get our picks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we can't forget Dallas, of course, winning Monday night at the Giants.
Cooper Rush moves the Cowboys to 2-1. He has 2 straight victories as a starting quarterback. So, Joe, you're calling it here on Covering the Field that there's a quarterback controversy in Dallas? Is that what you're saying?
No controversy at all. I think we can just hold off an extra week on Dak and let him completely heal with Rush in there, unless he plays a terrible game next week, and then we're right back where we started from, and it's get Dak back on the field immediately as soon as he can.
I like the Cowboys.
I have Tebow flashbacks.
You have Tebow flashbacks, yeah. The ugliest
All
best
he does,
player
all
ever.
he does is win and get so much criticism for it.
Yeah, he gets criticism for it because he can't complete a pass in practice and throw it.
But hey, Tebow had a higher power.
Yeah, he did have the higher power.
It's just like having Jesus on your team.
Yeah, you can't lose.
Can't possibly lose. But yeah, Atlanta went to Seattle. There was some kind of weird drone delay with like 6.5 minutes left.
First one ever, Joe.
How does that happen?
Well, we're probably going to get more, I'm sure.
Yeah,
So it was an NFL drone?
Well, 6
It
points.
was somebody else's drone.
I missed that.
That's a very good question. We can't figure that one out.
We can figure out where the drone came from, but they come in from anywhere and they sneak up on you apparently.
Yeah, we have to play all of our games in the dome, keep the drones out, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, back to this, the injury report.
What were the key injuries?
Yeah, Mac Jones suffers a high ankle sprain, and any type of running back or a wide receiver gets a high ankle sprain, that's something that's going to last all year long. I think that's a devastating blow to the Patriots. They're talking about surgery. It's that bad. So he isn't going to take the surgery. He wants to heal it up. He wants to play. But
dare I say, Brian Hoyer might be one of the better backups in the league, and he knows that system pretty well.
His last win was 2019, Joe. I mean, the guy hasn't won and
played a whole lot.
Yeah, he hasn't played a whole lot. He's a good backup, but man, you're going to say that you're going to put the franchise, you're going to put the Patriots season in the hands of Brian Hoyer.
Well, I mean, what were they doing anyway? Basically playing defense and running the ball.
Well, Mac Jones
and that's all they're going to do with Hoyer in there. It's basically the same team to me.
Right.
And if it came down, before the season, you asked me who was going to be better, Brian Hoyer or Cooper Rush. I would have picked Brian Hoyer personally because I've seen Cooper Rush play.
I think we might see Teddy Bridgewater tomorrow night on the Thursday night game. And I think that's the best backup quarterback in football. I mean, he's very, very efficient. He's definitely not a star caliber player, but a definitely efficient backup. So I think that Miami's in good shape having him back him up tomorrow night.
Okay. And who else got hurt?
Well, talking about that, Tua Tagovailoa, he goes out with a back twisting. And if you saw the game, everybody thought it was a concussion. And look, he got slammed into the ground, head bounces back. Everybody's calling the Bills the dirty cheaters for messing up Tua. And it was actually the drive before that when he was trying to sneak into the end zone. They twisted him back like a ballerina, and he definitely saw that was the injury. And then when he got slammed to the ground, that aggravated it. He said he felt like Gumby. So you guys that don't know who Gumby is, he's a very bendy guy. One of our toys when we were kids. But
that was Eddie Murphy on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, exactly.
The green guy.
The green guy. Yeah, we won't go into what Murphy used to call.
Yeah,
we can't say that on this. No, producer says no, we're not going to get into that. Back to the injury report.
That's for late night television.
He's actually going to be. He's definitely questionable. So it's a 50-50 chance. I think Tua does start tomorrow. I think he's got the team right where he wants him at 3-0. Like you said, it might be good to rest him. You get 10 days rest before the next Sunday game.
They are 3-0.
They're 3-0.
I guess if there's one team that could afford to lose one.
But if you looked at their schedule, they had the Patriots, they had more, and then they had last week's game against Buffalo, and now they had Cincinnati. You tell me you come out of that 3-1. I think every team in the NFL would take that.
Absolutely.
So now they get the softer side of their schedule after they come back.
Okay. Any other injuries you wanted to mention?
Yeah, DeAndre Swift suffers a shoulder injury.
For Detroit?
Detroit, yes. Detroit, I will add that they are 3-0 against the spread. We've been betting them every week. A tough loss last week in Minnesota. I mean,
should have won that game.
Should have won that game. They were up by 14 twice. But their backup's really, really good. I think he's the Georgia running back, Jamal Williams.
Well, Jamal Williams.
Yeah, exactly. And he's playing great football. And so...
Not a huge loss there.
Let him rest because, like you said, they have a bye week in week 5, so they can give him 2 weeks of rest and he'd be good to go. Speaking of shoulder injuries, what happened to Myles Garrett in his car crash?
I didn't hear exactly what the injuries were, but I know he was wearing a seatbelt and it could have been a lot worse. So that's about all I heard.
And he was the smartest man to buy a Porsche because Porsche uses the strongest steel in any manufacturer the money could buy. They were tooting their horn, but of a car that doesn't work, but they build those cars because of the Autobahn. They're German cars, and there's higher speed limits in Germany.
And no speed limit on the Autobahn.
Exactly. So they build their cars for safety, and it was good for him. Just a shoulder injury, some bumps and bruises, a minor scratch. He is listed as questionable for Sunday's game. So
I would consider him not playing this week after that experience.
Right. The car was totally it flipped. It was totally totaled him. So he was just lucky to get out of that. There was a female, they don't know who was with him, suffered a concussion or head injury, but we don't know anything else about her right now.
I think we know that she probably doesn't want to go riding in his car anymore.
Right. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, they think that they should.
She likes speed, but not when you're going to wreck.
Let's just keep the seatbelt on and get yourself a Subaru there, Myles Garrett.
Mm-hmm. And any more injuries? I got a couple more.
All right, go ahead and put them out there.
Well, Rashawn Slater for the Chargers, offensive lineman, done for the season.
Ooh.
Taylor Lewan is done for Tennessee, but of course he's only played, another offensive lineman, he's only played in 20 games in the last 3 seasons, so they've got used to playing without him. And Dalvin Cook is questionable with injuries.
With a shoulder injury also.
In Minnesota. And things to definitely look at. Oh, and Sterling Shepard is out for the season for the Giants. It seems like the Giants receiving corps always has these problems.
Right.
Nobody really steps up to be the lead guy. I mean, they went out and got Kenny Golladay. He's not doing anything. You got
I think it's
Tony. He's hurt.
It's a quarterback problem in New York. I think the quarterback is more the issue. And I think they have to move away from Daniel Jones, like we said at the beginning of the year.
Okay. Well, that's 18 games have been decided by 3 points or less. That's a record through 3 games. That's really amazing. That's what the league wants.
And it's everything's bundled together. It seems like, except for the Raiders falling behind, looking at everybody's taillights, but it's pretty close. Everybody's 2-1 or 1-2. 27 out of the 30 teams are
2-1 or 1-2.
Exactly. So that's pretty good. What we're looking for.
We had some news from the league. The Pro Bowl, the great Pro Bowl, is now becoming a flag football game and a skills competition. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that's what it was anyway, wasn't it? I mean, there was more hitting going on in the elevator with Kamara than there was on that football field for sure. I think that you can't get injured in these games. Let them play flag football. If you look at the competition committee, it was really good. They played that dodgeball game last year. I thought that was great. I think the competitions, you can make a little bit funner and a little bit less injuries for the players. I do like the flag football idea because that's what they're playing anyway.
Do you think you're going to be able to bet this flag football game?
I guarantee you're going to be able to bet this thing, and I guarantee you Joe's going to bet it.
If you can, I'll give it a shot.
I know you will.
I know. I always used to bet it. I just bet the over on the game because nobody tackled anybody. It was easy, and I loved watching the game while everybody else hated it because I was making money off of it.
Okay, Joe. Well,
and we'll see about this flag football game.
We'll see what happens. Your parlays are over for the Pro Bowl, that's for sure. You're going to have to pick a winner on these flag football. Start your new streak.
Well, will they be trying harder now that they're playing flag football? Maybe.
I think they're going to definitely be competitive. They're competitive by nature. That caliber of an athlete. I think it will be like that dodgeball game. I thought the dodgeball game was great with Diggs and playing his brother, and it was good.
Wouldn't it be ironic if somebody got injured in the flag football game and it just defeated the whole purpose of not playing the Pro Bowl game?
Okay.
Just saying. Just throwing it out there.
All right, Joe. Come on. We got to move it on. We got to move on. Okay, I'm going to play the game right here before we get in our picks.
I want to just say one thing. Las Vegas, they have a 2.7% chance of making the playoffs because they're 0-3. Just so you know.
That's pretty good odds. I mean, right now they're only 2 games out of being tied for their division. They haven't even played anybody in their division. So
that's what history says.
That's right. Well,
so
for all you Raider fans that still have hope, go make that bet. But now we're going to play the game we like to play. Who am I?
Uh-oh.
Okay, so you ready, Gator?
I'm ready.
Okay. I lead the league in rushing, and also I lead the league in non-kickers in points. Am I James Robinson from Jacksonville? Am I Nick Chubbs from Cleveland? Or am I Jamal Williams from Detroit?
Well, that's okay. Well, it's between Chubb and Williams. I'm going to guess Chubb.
I'm going to guess Williams.
I am Nick Chubbs. Nick Chubbs is awesome, but you could believe it or not that he is 7th. He has 7 kickers in front of him on points.
Wow.
So all you people in your fantasy that don't think kickers are important, they are leading the league in points. So just so you know,
it depends on how your league is set up, I suppose.
that would be right.
Very correct.
So are we going to move on to some predictions for this week?
Well, last week I was 3-2, so it brings me 500. Trying to get back to the Gator line at 70%. So I'm trying to get it right here. You know, NFL's the hardest to handicap with the point spread, and we're going to go for it. I'm going to stick with the Detroit Lions, 3-0. I'm going to play the hot hand, play a 4. I'm going to drop that 4.5 against Seattle, and their non-offensive team. I think Detroit gets the win.
Shocking to see Detroit favored by 4.5.
Right.
Things have changed so quickly.
Well, they are the number 3 team in the league in passing right now, or in offense. They're definitely right there. You know, I think that they're right behind Philadelphia in the NFC, so they're doing great.
It's the defense we have to worry about with
right,
Detroit.
And they got Hutchinson out there. He has made some few sacks, but, you know, we have to get the defense together in Detroit. But as long as you keep covering the points, I'm not going to get mad at you, Detroit. So keep making that money for me, sir. All right, next game, Philadelphia's dropping 6.5 against Jacksonville. I say Jacksonville is for real, but I think Philadelphia is more for real and definitely a Super Bowl contender at the first 3 games. I'm dropping the 6.5 points.
Okay. Anything else?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Go through all your
I'll give you
picks.
the Big Rich 5. All right, so Dallas, -3 over the helpless, were they the Washington, what are they, Commanders?
The ex-Redskins.
Ex-Redskins, yes. So they're going down, circle the wagons. Dallas is going to cover that 3-point spread. I'm still staying with Cooper Rush. He's the hot hand. I know you like that pick, Joe.
I do. I'm afraid to pick Dallas on the show. I don't want to jinx them.
Well, don't do it then.
I won't.
I'm going to bet it.
I'm not.
All right, good.
But I'll probably end up betting them anyway.
I know you will. So I like. The Broncos and Raiders. The Raiders have beat the Broncos 4 straight times. The Broncos haven't won since 2019 against the Raiders. They're in Vegas. They're desperate for a win. I'm going to stay away from it because I can't bet against my Broncos, but I love the under 45.5. I'm taking the under on that one for sure. So Broncos Raiders under 45.5.
Okay.
And then Green Bay, and they're giving up. I think it went off at 10, and it's 9.5 right now against New England at home. They're playing in Green Bay.
Opened at 10.5.
Opened at 10.5. It's down to 9.5. I'm going to watch the spread. I think I will take New England. If it gets to 10, I will take New England plus the 10. Their defense, they're still going to run the ball. You can't go against Belichick, you know. Anytime, I think it'll be a close game. I don't know if they'll pull out the win, but I definitely like double digits.
Belichick getting double digits. Wow.
Exactly. Times have
crazy.
changed, yeah.
Yep. All right. Was that your last one?
That was my last one.
Okay. Gator, did you have any picks this week, or should I just get on?
There's so much parity, Joe. Like Big Richard was saying, 2-1, 1-2s. Just to go, he's trying to get to the Gator line. Just for me to get to 500 would be excellent.
Right.
Okay. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I'll throw some out there.
Home dogs.
Home dogs, you like?
But yeah, they've been covering,
yeah.
and the unders. The unders have been covering.
Last week, the home teams won 8, and the visiting teams won 8. So
just like we predicted at the beginning of the season, lean towards the underdogs, the home teams, and the unders.
Yeah, because they're hitting
and
still
Detroit
until I don't know.
And the Jags.
Until week 8 when everything changes.
Yeah,
I don't know. I would just keep riding that roller coaster.
Well, last week I went 3-1. I won with Detroit and over and Dallas. I lost with Pittsburgh on Thursday, but did well Sunday and Monday. I will mention that everybody pay attention to the fact that Minnesota and New Orleans are playing at 6:30 in the morning Pacific time. They're playing in London.
Okay.
So get your fantasy football leagues set, and if you want to bet that game, get there early or the day before.
Yeah, you have to bet that the day before.
Yeah, the book will probably be open at 6 in the morning that day, I'm going to assume. And I believe there's weather in Tampa Bay that might be like a hurricane coming through.
Sure.
We might want to be paying attention to that.
Absolutely. I think that game, if they get the devastating winds and they might have some damage to that field, they might have to have an alternate field. So that's something to look for, the Tampa Bay game this week. And they're actually practicing in Miami, so they're not even practicing there. So
yep, that's a sign. And I agree with you on New England plus 10 at Green Bay. I do have faith in Brian Hoyer and Bill Belichick. I love the 10 points. I'm going to take Tennessee plus the 3.5 at Indianapolis. Tennessee did get their first win. We talked about Indianapolis and their offensive line issues. Well, Tennessee can sack the quarterback.
Yeah, very good defense.
And Derrick Henry actually got off a little bit last week, too.
Looked like Derrick Henry busted in that end zone.
I'm trying Houston plus 5 at home against the Los Angeles Chargers. Herbert just doesn't look that good for the Chargers right now. Houston's right in there, right at the end of the game. I'm going to see a close game, I'm hoping. And
I'm sure Houston will have a lead sometime in that fourth quarter, according to Gator. So
yeah, well,
it stays close.
I'm counting on it. And finally, I'm going to go with Chicago and the New York Giants to go under 39. I just don't see a whole lot of offense on either one of those teams.
And that's a low number to start with.
Yeah, I think the 49er game went down to like 38.5, and the Dallas game went down to like 38.5 too. So
you got host section. We'll be talking about that later.
I'm expecting that number to go lower than 39 before it goes off.
Okay.
All right. So let's move on to college football. Well, what were the big results last week? There were some pretty interesting ones, as there are every week.
Right. Well, I think Ohio State put up another 50-burger. That was great against Wisconsin, of all teams. So it's a good Big Ten.
Just dominated.
So you took the 17 like we told you. You covered that. Alabama rolls. They look really good, so they definitely covered. Michigan cost me, to his little brother, Tulalale.
Yeah.
He, I think I said that right. Anyway.
You might have thrown an extra law in there.
An extra law, but it was la, man. Thanks a lot. They scored 14 points in the fourth quarter. It cost the 17, but they had some late scores like they always do. So I'm going to lean towards if you're going to take a lot of points, take the first half. You have better odds because you never know who they're going to put in at the end.
Yeah, well, absolutely. They'll empty the bench.
Right.
With a big lead.
I thought Oregon, they squeaked by Washington State. Actually, Washington State was winning for most of that game, and I got another you got hose section on that. I mean, it was a hosiery this weekend for Big Richard. So Michael Penix.
Careful how you say that.
Yeah, put that X in there with a hard X. He threw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also they won 40-22. Washington looks pretty dang good, man. I think that I like them this week too. So I think that they're explosive. They have track stars on that team. Just the defense is the only thing you have to worry about there. What Oklahoma gets stunned by K-State? I mean, wow, Joe, that was your pick too. I mean,
if you look at the last 4 years, it's not a real stunner. I kind of forgot about that, but Kansas State has beat them 3 out of the last 4 years.
Yeah, but they lose to Toledo at home, and then they go to Tulane, and then they go to Oklahoma and just throttle them. They dominated the game.
Well, they only won by 7, but it's conference football now.
It is. I was really surprised by that. What about Minnesota and Kansas 4-0? So the Gophers have some pretty good wins.
Well, that's pretty interesting. You would mention that, but we'll save that for later. But we're just talking about
Kansas Jayhawks. We were talking about him, and we were talking about Jalen Daniels. I mean, he leads the team in rushing with 320 yards, and he leads the team in passing. Of course, the quarterback 890 yards, and he has 11 touchdowns and 1 interception. That is Heisman-like numbers right there.
Mm-hmm. We'll see if he gets any consideration for that. But if they go undefeated, certainly he will.
Yeah, you got C.J. Stroud. He's way out up front. He looks like definitely the one I would say is going to win that Heisman Trophy and be the first-round pick.
Oh, my prediction before the season.
It was, Joe. It was your prediction.
Oh, okay.
I'm still staying with Jalen Hurst.
All right.
So
other games?
Well, that was pretty much what I got from the top before we make our picks.
I would throw in some other interesting results. Clemson, 51-45 in overtime at Wake Forest. Could have easily lost that game. Clemson's defense showing major weakness. Brett Venables, the defensive coordinator, is now last year is the head coach at Oklahoma. So the defense looks like is going to suffer a little bit.
Right. They looked good in the first few games. They were only giving up 10 points or less, and then that was a shocker. Maybe Wake Forest. I think Wake Forest has a good offense, and they're getting 7 this week.
The quarterback is going to get drafted for sure.
Right.
For Wake Forest.
Right.
Middle Tennessee, 45, Miami 31. Miami was actually ranked at that moment. Good for Middle Tennessee. We've had some of these mid-majors beating Division I.
Talked about that. The Sun Belt.
Top conferences.
The new SEC, the Sun Belt.
Texas Tech beat Texas.
Wow, I know that cost me.
In overtime, 37-34. How about UTEP whooping up Boise State 27-10?
Yeah.
Who saw that coming?
Yeah, no one picked Boise State on our show anyway to win that Mountain West, and definitely after UTEP's beating you. That's not good for the Broncos out there.
Florida International is a Division I team, but they just got beat by Western Kentucky 73-0 last week.
Wow.
So they could be definitely one of the bottom of the barrel kind of teams. Western Kentucky, that's what Bailey Zappi went last year.
These the Hilltoppers, man. I'm telling you,
that's the system.
That's the system. It's a system win right there, I guess. Mm-hmm. And he will be backing up Hoyer, so we might see Zappi. He's backing up Hoyer's.
Might see some action.
Might see some action.
He looked good in preseason.
He actually did.
Yes. How about Stephen F. Austin, 98, Warner University 0. There's a ball game, huh?
Yeah, that was a barn burner on one side. What about USC? USC, we told y'all to go under that 71's way too high. It was, 17-14? It wasn't even. It was a very low-scoring game. So if you took the under, you were definitely happy with that.
I will say Stephen F. Austin had a 2-point conversion attempt at the end, and they knelt on it. They could have got the 100 and decided to take it easy on the little Christian school from Florida.
Right. So.
Good old Warner. But my favorite game of the week, Cal State University at Sacramento.
Okay.
Or Sacramento State, if you want to call them. 41. Colorado State 10 at Colorado State. That's Jay Norvell. Nevada's old coach.
Yes, you're still holding on to that.
Oh, well, of course. And not to mention the fact
Let it go, Joe. Let it go.
Sac State is my alma mater. That's where I graduated from. So
they have the River Cats. What's Sacramento? That should be.
We're the Hornets.
Oh, the Hornets. Okay.
And you got to be careful how you say that too.
Okay.
But yeah, no, total domination. Sac State actually, they're a solid FCS team, and they actually made the playoffs last year. But to win by 31 at Colorado State shows you where Colorado State is.
Yeah, they're you bring a new coach in. He has to recruit and build it up again. So he definitely did in Nevada. They were good last year.
Well, do you have any picks for this week?
All right, last week 4-4, so keeping me around the 60%, a little bit over 60% for the year. So let's go ahead and get started. Get these wins going again. I'm going to take Washington -3 at UCLA. Like you said, we're all on the Michael Penix. He looks great. I think the offense is good. UCLA definitely had some problems with the Sun Belt. I think it was Arkansas State or Southern Alabama or whoever they played. They had difficulty there, and I think that offense is going to definitely dominate. So I'm definitely going to give the 3 on the road. I'm going to stay with Michigan. I like Michigan -11 at Iowa. I think Michigan's defense and their defense is going to play a very, very low scoring game. The under-over is 42. I'm taking the under with Iowa and that Michigan defense, dropping 11 and double dip on that parlay. All right, Penn State -26.5 at home against Northwestern. They lost to Miami of Ohio. They lost to Duke and Southern Illinois. Northwestern did. Their only win is against Nebraska.
And we know how bad they are. So Penn State dropping to 26. They look dominant. Go ahead and take Penn State. USC. First half bet. They're at home again against Arizona State. You know that Herm Edwards just got canned. Now that you don't know who even the coach is anymore. Now you got to go play Caleb Williams and the high-powered USC. Don't let that 17 points scare you. They'll be rolling. The band's gonna be marching. First half, stay away from the whole game because USC definitely doesn't put a lot of second half points up. So I'm gonna take them in the first half and drop to 15.5. Mm-hmm. Well, I went 1-1 last week. Obviously, Oklahoma didn't make it. Kansas barely did. I think by like half a point or so. And there might have been a number where you wouldn't have won, I guess, if you took Kansas. I think they might have opened at 8.5. They won by 8. But but when the game went off, it was only like 7. So. And
that was against Wake Forest, right? Was that last week?
Kansas. I'm trying to remember now, but it doesn't matter. It was Duke, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Duke. So
it was Duke.
Yes, and so I'm going to go right back to Kansas, getting 3.5 at home against Iowa State. I mean, what's so great about Iowa State?
We're going to check that because I think that they're in Ames, but we'll go ahead and double check that and put that up.
So. Oh, okay, we'll check that out.
But I do like Kansas also. I do like Kansas, and the spread is 4 right now. So I checked this morning. I like Kansas. You got to stick with Jalen Daniels.
Yeah, and you were mentioning how Kansas and Minnesota were both undefeated, 4-0. Well, Minnesota's my other pick. At home against Purdue. Purdue struggled against Florida Atlantic last week. They're happy to get that win. Minnesota won at Michigan State 34-7. So they're showing some major strength.
Yeah, they're looking good. The Golden Gophers.
So is that it for the picks? I think so. Okay. So Major League Baseball. We got to get to that. Season ends in a week and a half. What are the big stories there? I guess the races, I suppose.
Right.
We got to figure out who's going to be in the playoffs.
Well, we had the Cardinals clinch their division, the Yankees clinch their division, and the Guardians.
Dodgers a long time ago.
Dodgers already did. We already had that out.
Yep.
So right now the wild card looks pretty set. Mm-hmm. Yeah, looks like Seattle's going to get that last spot.
Toronto,
Baltimore's
Seattle,
3.5 out.
Bay.
Right, and Baltimore's still 3.5 out. So
hanging in there if one of those teams falters.
So getting into that, we'll get into what the playoff is going to start here in like 8 days. The wild card. There's no more wild card elimination game.
Right.
That is done. That's been going on since 2019. It's been replaced by the 2 out of 3 series in the wild card.
Great move.
Great move. I love it too because you just have one great pitcher and you can get stunned.
Yeah.
You know. So I think that you should have to win at least 2 games. The AL and the NL championship. The division series is best of 5. So the next after that would be the divisional series, and then the AL and NL championship and the World Series, the best of 7.
Right. Nationally, New York and Atlanta are in. They haven't figured out who won the division, but they're at least going to be a wild card.
Right.
And San Diego and Philadelphia right now are wild cards, but Milwaukee is hanging in there and got a shot to sneak in there.
That still gives that something to look forward to the last week of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But if there is a tie, it goes to a head-to-head matchup. If all mathematical
is
tied, it goes to head-to-head matchup. So that'll be the tiebreaker. And we'll have that if it is, and if something like that is going to come in and play next week, we'll have that on the show next week.
Okay.
With the head-to-head.
Of course, we need mention Albert Pujols, 700 home runs now for St. Louis.
Yeah, great.
And a great move, for St. Louis, picking Pujols up and adding him to the team. He seems to be an inspirational leader. Boom, they win the division.
Right.
And Aaron Judge still stuck on 60.
Right. And he's also close in that. He's at 314 over Luis Alvarez from Minnesota.
Yeah.
So he's at
got the triple crown right now.
Well, right now he does by 1 point.
By 1 point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's stuck on 60, and he's went 7 games with no home runs, with 8 to go. So sink or swim.
Uh-oh.
You ready for this there, Gator?
Yeah, I'm ready.
7 games is the longest that he's gone without a home run. 7-game streak is the longest he's gone with it this year.
I would have to say I swim with that.
I'm going to swim with that too.
It's actually 9. He's
really?
9's the only one. He went 9. He had one 9-game skid where he didn't have a home run.
It just seems like every time you turned on the TV, he was in a home run.
Well, he's pretty streaky, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think
that's not bad. He's 9.
9 games.
I know.
And our sink or swim, I'll give you guys this. It's not another one on it. The last one, though, I'll give you sink or swim. If he does not catch Maris in the next 8 games, would you consider that a choke?
Oh.
Not a choke. I mean, he got walked 4 times yesterday. They don't even want to pitch to this guy.
Right.
It's not his fault.
Yeah, I don't know about a choke. That's a little harsh, but yes, I can see what you're saying. Yes, but it's a little harsh to say.
It's hard to say you choke when you hit 60 home runs.
Exactly.
Right?
That's a little harsh.
It's a little harsh, but you're playing in New York, buddy.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Okay, well, we got to move on to some other sports. Gator, what occurred in NASCAR last Sunday?
Wow, Joe, it was all about the tires, wasn't it, Joey? We were counting 30 to 35 laps is about what these tires were going, and everybody's just going crazy on them. We had a record track of 16 cautions. We had a record 26 lead changes.
36.
Or 36, my fault, yes.
36 different drivers.
19 different drivers. So we had a 56-minute red flag for lightning, and I think a lot of drivers needed that at that time that it did come out. But multiple tire issues that caused crashes. The point leader, Chase Elliott, was the first car out. He hit the wall and his car caught on fire.
That was exciting.
Another car on fire.
I thought that was Myles Garrett.
But we should be counting on how many over and unders for the rest of the year on the
cars catching on fire.
Yeah,
that's not bettable, but
we can make a guess.
We could make our own line. Make our own line.
Kevin Harvick and Martin Truex, they both had tire problems, hit the wall. Christopher Bell had 2 separate issues and crashed on lap 137. But Tyler Reddick, 10-1, won the race, Joe. And again, Joe, another non-playoff car winning again.
Yeah, he was
So
part
how many
of
is that for the year? You had
That's
that
19.
19 for the year.
Yeah.
Wow,
great.
that's crazy.
But, go ahead, Joe.
Well, I was going to say, are we moving on to next week?
Oh, okay, well,
Talladega.
yeah.
Everybody loves the super speedways.
Sure, Joe.
The big wrecks.
Yeah, sure, Joe. It's going to be Sunday, October 2nd, 11 o'clock on NBC. Now, they've been showing it on USA, so it's going to be on NBC this time. Talladega. Ross Chastain won the last race in April. I like the Chevys again, Joe. I did hit the Chevys last week. I like them again this week. And I'm going to take Kyle Larson. And, Joe, I cannot believe this number. He is at 14-1.
Yeah, I was going to say Reddick was 10-1 last week, and now we're looking at Larson 14-1 this week in the Yellowwood 500.
But like you said, Joe, we are at Talladega. How many cars are going to be in that Rex?
I'm going to predict the winner is going to be more than 10-1 in that race.
I predict, yeah.
They'll definitely be going 4 wide.
Are we going to have our 20th? Oh, I'm sorry, Big
No,
Rig.
I'm just saying, they definitely go 4 wide in Talladega. They don't have a problem with that.
No, they sure don't.
They don't mind swapping paint, that's for sure. So,
But, Joe, do you think we're going to have you would think that a playoff car would win eventually?
I'm going to say no.
You always going on those stats, I know.
I'm going to go on a sink on that, and it's going to be somebody nobody expects, like Bubba Wallace or somebody.
That very well could happen.
Very well could.
I agree.
I just threw that name out there.
Just be conservative.
Okay.
Watch everybody else wreck in front of you.
So how about Formula One? There's a race this Sunday.
Yeah, finally, Joe. There's actually only 6 races left for the season, but we're going to be in Singapore. But, Joe, we hadn't been back there since 2019.
COVID.
But
Yep.
the Ferraris went 1 and 2 with Sebastian Vettel first and Charles Leclerc going second.
But that was 3 years ago.
Right, and we got all these new cars and stuff.
Yeah.
But now, Joe, we've had all this time. I would think that the Ferraris had done something with their cars within this time. And I
yes,
like
of course.
Charles is at a plus 350. So I'm going to gamble with Ferrari. And that's hard for me, Joe, because I have a hard time rooting for Ferrari.
Yeah. Well, Max Verstappen has won 5 consecutive races. He's going off at minus 250. Really?
Yeah.
In a car race? There's no stopping Verstappen. You got to go with him, man.
Okay,
he's
I'll
a
give
runaway
that, Joe.
machine. So I got to pick him, but at that price, it's not even bettable.
No, I agree.
Yeah. So what transpired in golf last week? We had a preview of the President's Cup. How'd that end up?
Okay, well, in my eyes, Joe, I thought Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas was the best out of the Americans.
Jordan Spieth did go 5-0.
Jeez, I swear. And U.S. Actually, to me, the score was 17.5 to 12.5. But to me, I thought that's a little skewed. I think U.S. had no problems.
Well, the international team actually covered the spread plus 6.5. So we were saying, yeah, they would dominate, but no one was saying, hey, they're going to dominate by that much.
No, yeah.
And that's 9 straight wins for the U.S. in this competition.
Yeah.
But that's why we're thinking, U.S. is going to dominate. And we had some, players end up in live golf that weren't allowed to play for the international team because they were excluded. But, I will say U.S. was up 8-2 at one point, and the international team played well.
That was after Friday. After
Yeah.
the Friday's events, they were up
And
8-2.
international team outscored them after that.
Yeah.
So good for them. They showed some life.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Made something out of it.
Made it somewhat exciting over the weekend. Did anything happen in hockey recently?
Well, we are in preseason right now, Joe.
Yeah, I know. That's your sport.
And we are going to be having our first games October 7th. And the biggest news right now is that there's going to be there's going to be 2 games actually between Nashville and San Jose. And that's going to be in Prague, Czechoslovakia. But the Czech minister is saying that the Russian players are not invited into the country.
Boy, we're not going to get over this, are we?
Well,
The Russian players, I feel badly for them. They're not out there making decisions on invading countries and stuff, but they're getting the brunt of it. It's already happened in tennis, and now it's going to be happening in hockey. Just sad.
I'm totally with you, Joe. It's not they're not the ones that are just like the Olympics all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have to fly under a different flag.
Yes.
But that's for systematic cheating, basically. Is
Well, yes.
not invading.
When you get politics involved with sports, it's never a good thing.
Yeah.
And so
What-
that's what we're supposed to be getting away from by watching sports. So
What is sports without politics, though? It's unavoidable.
But a different politics, sports politics, not
Yes.
not world
Global.
politics. Global,
Right.
Yes.
Well, you're wearing a Colorado Avalanche Stanley Cup champion shirt. Nathan McKinnon was in the news last week.
$100 million worth.
How many years for $100 million?
Was it 8?
8 years?
8 years, yeah.
Man,
I
Might have
wasn't
been
sure
fine.
on the exact number, but that's okay. We
hockey
could keep him
players
around for a while.
Hockey players just don't make enough money.
Oh no, compared to the other sports, sure.
It's ridiculous. 8 years, $100 million for arguably the best player in all of hockey.
right. I mean, Russell Wilson looks like he's on skates anyway. I mean, he's getting $250 million, and I mean, these guys are on skates and flying and fighting and getting hit in the head with a puck, and they don't come out. They get stitched on the sidelines. Tough guys. Pay them. Come on, NHL.
Yep, I'm all for that. And our final subject this week is from the NBA. It involves Boston Celtic head coach Ime Udoka. What's the news there?
Well, he was having inappropriate relations with a co-worker or insubordinate, and I heard it was consensual, but I mean, I don't know the whole details of it, but I know he won't be coaching, and you know the rules when you
Teams
pick
have
yourself.
rules.
Teams have rules, and you know, so
I don't know.
tough because I really liked the Celtics. I thought they were great for NBA last year. I think they were one game away from beating the Suns. I mean, beating the Golden State Warriors. So it's tough for them. It's going to be tough, but they'll get somebody in there.
Brad Stevens, probably.
Okay, yeah,
And he's coached that team before.
right.
I don't know if Udoka was married, but I know the lady was married. The husband overheard a private conversation she was having on a Ring camera. Now, if you can tell me what a Ring camera is, that'd be pretty interesting.
What it was either a Ring. I thought maybe Joe. They're talking about the Ring camera in front of their house. That's what I'm maybe thinking. It might be
that could have been it.
You're right.
So a ring, it's a doorbell ring.
That's what I'm guessing. I didn't think that he was going to have a Maxwell Smart ring on, and
All this modern technology is not good for society. I don't like it.
It's not good for cheaters. It's not good for cheaters. You listen, honey? I'm getting married this week. Don't worry about it.
Yep, for sure. So now it's that time. We got to talk about our You Got Hosed segment. That's where we thought we were going to have winners. We made bets, and we were sure they're going to be winners, but then ended up surely being losers. It's the segment we call You Got Hosed.
You got hosed.
So, Gator, do you have a You Got Hosed story from last week?
Yeah, sure, Joe. My host story is the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, Friday, just after 11 o'clock Pacific time, the point spread began to come down. Bettors were convinced that Justin Herbert was not going to play. In about 90 minutes, the line dropped from -7 to -3. Now, that caused a lot of sportsbooks to pull the game off the board. Now, 2 hours before the kickoff, the scoreboard at SoFi Stadium said that Chase Daniels was going to start. An hour later, the Chargers tweeted that they're inactive list, and they didn't have Herbert on that list. So the the short story is that it shot right back up to a -6.5 within minutes. But the wise guys, quote unquote, were getting tickets with the Chargers at -3.5, -4, and now at -6.5. And as far as the sportsbooks go, Jacksonville won 38-10, so it didn't affect them so much. Actually, the worst one was the Indianapolis and KC was the biggest one for the sportsbooks. But for the bettors that were on the wise guys roller coaster, they got hosed.
Yeah, anything with Chargers on it was a loser last week. For sure. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, well,
Oh, you got one?
Oh, it was a host fest. It was a host fest this weekend. I mean, where do I start? I'll just put one in there. There's multiple, but the one I really hurt the most on my parlay was Oregon and Washington State. It was the parent spread was 6.5. I took Oregon. They were losing most of the game. They come back. They get up by a field goal. I'm still down. I'm hoping for overtime and then maybe win by the 7. What do? They get a pick 6. The linebacker picks it off, takes it to the house with 1:30 left, and I covered. The football gods were with me. It was a celebration. I went to the trash, pulled out my ticket, and said, I got it. And then I'm doing the happy dance in the living room, and then they throw a 4th down, 60-yard pass to the 1-yard line and punch it in, and now they won by 3 instead of this 10 points. I got hosed.
Right at the very end.
That's it.
A minute and a half.
So the ticket went back to the trash.
It's like a yo-yo.
It was like a yo-yo. You got to pull the nacho cheese off it.
There you go. Well, Mike, you got host story comes from Butch the Butcher. He had Pittsburgh plus 10.5 on a teaser against Cleveland. Scores 23-17 with time for just one last play. Pittsburgh has it and decides to attempt the dreaded lateral play.
Oh.
Lateral, and the ball ends up in the end zone. And Cleveland recovers it for a touchdown with no time left on the clock. Final score of Cleveland 29, Pittsburgh 17. Anybody who had Pittsburgh plus 10.5 got completely hosed.
Yeah, the butcher got butched.
Exactly.
You got hosed.
Well, we thank everyone for listening. And I thank you, Big Rich, and I thank you, Gator, for being on the show. We look forward to doing another episode next week. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And we'll see you again next week on Covering the Field.
You've been listening to Covering the Field. Email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com for all your comments,